Hi everyone. Welcome to the Docker tutorial. This is the third chapter, and in previous videos we have seen the basics of Docker, and we also downloaded Docker desktop on our laptop. We played with Docker CLI, tried running containers, and we also see how we can perform basic operations in Docker CLI. And in this video, we particularly talk about Docker file, which is very important in the area of Docker. We'll also learn how we can create custom images. We'll try to build custom images, and we'll learn what is the importance of image tagging as well. And we'll also learn how we can create Docker file for our custom projects as well. So let's begin, guys. So what is a Docker file and what it does? So Docker file, we write a Docker file to define how our container should behave. So Docker file at the end is used to create a container. So Docker file, using a Docker file, we build an image, and when we run the image, container gets created, right? So in the Docker file is the foremost important. So whenever we execute the Docker file, it is talk to the Docker client, which is our Docker CLI. Docker CLI in turn will communicate with Docker server, and it will create usable image. So these are the four steps that are involved in this. And after we have got the image, we can learn the image to create containers. Now, the questions come to our mind, how do we create a Docker file? So the flow is, as you can see in the video. So the first thing is to specify a base image. Then run some commands to install additional programs. So whatever programs our application needs, we put those commands there. Then at the end, we specify a command to start the container basically. So these are the basic steps that are involved in the Docker file. So in this video, we'll try to create an image that runs Redis server. So Redis server will be try to create a Docker file. What it'll do, it will download Redis server, and then it will create its own image and its own container, right? So this is the main task that we'll be performing. So writing a Docker file is just like being given a computer with no operating system and being told to install any software, say Chrome. So when we are writing a Docker file, you are the one who is directing Docker to create application with all the dependencies that you are putting in your Docker file. So you control the behavior of your application. So suppose there is an example, like if you want to install Google Chrome on your system which has no operating system. So what will we do? So will you install Chrome directly? No. So first thing we'll have to do is install an operating system. Then once you have the operating system, then you get your what you call any web browser. Then you go to chrome.google.com, then download Chrome installer, then you execute chrome.exe to install Chrome. So these are the steps that you perform when you want to install Chrome in a computer which doesn't even have a operating system. So just like this only, the Docker file works like this. So when you say like install an operating system, we are directing Docker file to specify a base image. Base image is the operating system kind of a thing, right? So on that on top of this operating system or base image, will be performing various tasks. So we'll be performing executing commands. We'll do other kind of stuff in the base image. After we have run all the command and execute all the functions, at the end we will run the application. So this this is same as sorry this is same as installing Chrome on your laptop which has no OS. So specify a base image, run some command, and specify these are the three base main steps when you want to create a Redis image. So this is the content of Docker file, which will create the image. From, run, cmd are the, what do you call, these are the keywords that will be used, and we'll be using Alpine image, which is a what do you call, a base image that contains some basic software to run. Very lightweight image this is, and then we'll be running this command, run apk add dash dash update Redis, and then cmd will start the Redis server. So what will happen after we create an image for this one? So what it will do? It will create a file system snapshot which have all the installation packages that Redis contains. And in the startup command, it has Redis dash server. So whenever we'll be running the command, it will automatically create a container that will take some part of your RAM, network, CPU, etc., and build a mini, like kind of a computer mini container, which will be called container, right? So before diving more details into this, so let's create some Docker file, right? So this is the Docker file. You can see like from run cmd from Alpine, which is our base image, run apk add update dash dash Redis, and this is the start command. So let us try to build one image using this Docker file. So let me clear it. So we'll do Docker build. So if we can see, this Docker file is in the root directory, right? So what we'll do, Docker build. So here we have this Docker file, and these are the contents of Docker file that we discussed earlier, from, run, and cmd. These are the keywords that Docker file recognized as the keywords, and this is the Alpine base image, and that's the apk add update Redis, very simple command, and at the end it will run the Redis server. So keep in mind one thing, that this Docker file doesn't have a extension, like it doesn't have, its name is Docker file only. There is no .text, etc. No, only Docker file, right? So now let's go to PowerShell and try to build an image, right? So as you can see, this, we are in this Docker folder, and we'll have to make sure that, yeah, this Docker file is at the root directory. So we'll be doing is Docker build dash t and my repository slash Reddish, and then tag. So we'll be putting tag as latest for the time being, and as a Docker file in the root directory, we will say dash dot, right? So if we run this command, it will create a Docker file, Docker image, sorry. So now if we see Docker images, so yeah, these are, yeah, this is the Docker image that we created, right? My repo Reddish, tag is latest. Okay, why it's showing it's created 4 minutes ago? Okay, let me do one thing. Docker, let's remove this image. Docker images. Okay, so we don't have any Redis image right now. So let us build my repository. Okay, let me run it again. So it should create a Docker image. Docker images. Yes, you can see this is a Docker image that we created, right? So we have successfully created a Docker image, and now let's do one thing. Let's try to run this image. So running this image, what it will do? It will create a container. That is the application. So we'll have a Redis server up and running. If we do Docker run this image, Docker, oh, type it to this. As you can see, these are the logs of Redis servers. So if I Just to verify, I open any new PowerShell and do Docker PS. So we should have this. Yeah, this is up. This Redis server is up 12 seconds ago. So this is the how we created an image using a Docker file, and using this image we created, we ran the container, right? So now the question comes to your mind, like whenever we are creating this Docker file, why we are putting the base image? So base image is like your operating system. So Alpine comes with some pre-installed set of programs that are very useful in very handful, like useful to you. So that's why we use Alpine. There are multiple images are instead of Alpine, you can use any image. So what does tagging means basically? So remember, like when we created this build image, so what we did was we put some tag. So tag it is to like specify your version of the image. So suppose you are creating multiple images, and also how would you keep track of all those images? So for that reason we tag the image. So this is the like your Docker ID. This is how you do Docker ID slash Reddish is your repo project name, and this is the version, right? So this is very useful in tracking your images that you are creating, and in case you want to push the images to Docker Hub, you can do that. And so this is Aftab Virtual is it's my Docker ID which I created user in Docker Hub. So whenever I'll be pushing this image to Docker file, it will go to my it will like look for this Aftab Virtual Docker Hub. Then it will create this repository project, and this is the like tag. This is the what you call the version of that application. That's why tagging is very important in order to keep track of your images. So I think that's all I had in this. So like we have learned how we can create a Docker file. Like we created this custom image for a Redis server. When we built this image, and then we created this container, and like this Docker file can be created for any project. Like if you want to create Docker file your own project also, you can do that also. So it will help you to create images and containers and Dockerize your application. So it's very useful. It's very useful for you also. So okay, that's all I had in this video. Thanks for watching.